Alrighty, so it is time to dive into the 2027 offseason, into 2020. So like the 27-28 offseason, you know what it is, gearing up for the 2028 season. And this is an interesting year for us because we are getting to the point where we're in like a transition period with our team. Because we take a look at our salaries here. This upcoming season will be the last year for Gilbert and White, assuming that I take on both their options, which I probably do. Maybe not for Gilbert, but probably, because I feel like I'd want Gilbert back. So I'm probably going to accept both these options, and then we have Soroka and Kelnick for next year as well. But then Soroka's on a player option for 2029. He'll probably end up accepting that, but then Kelnick's on a team option, which we also will accept. But once 2029 is over, like, we don't have anybody guaranteed on our roster for that year. I mean, our team's going to look extremely different if we can't, bring back, because Kelnick is going to, his contract's going to run out at the end of 2029, and, do we bring him back? Probably, but the thing is, like, I would want to bring him back if we can. The thing is, because he's still so good, and he'll be, like, 30 years old entering free agency, probably going to want, like, $30+ million. Even somebody like Marte is going to be a free agent in that 2029 season, and just based on what he did for us this year, and the fact that he's fragile now, and the fact that you never know when that whole MS thing is going to pop up. I mean, the guy has MS. We can't forget about that. And it definitely affected his fielding this year. It could have been that, or it could have been the fact that he was coming off a broken kneecap. But, I mean, he won the Gold Glove, and he's just gotten worse and worse at the shortstop position since then. And, of course, that was all after we signed him to his extension because of course, that's I believe it was. I mean, I don't remember the exact time. And listen, I've recorded so much of this, and I don't like write down notes or anything. Like, I'm recorded a few seasons ahead from what you're actually seeing. Like, give you a little tidbit here. I'm basically recording this as I take a break from going on Twitter and summoning the energy for a Kongwu to fall to the Celtics pick in the draft, because that's when I'm recording this, is the day of the NBA draft. So whenever you see this and you're like, wow, that was a month ago, it's like, yeah, that's how far I'm recorded ahead. But if we just take a look at the mail and news here, these are the two main things that we needed to decide on here. So like Evan White, 1,000% we are bringing him back, executing his option. Logan Gilbert, we're going to do the same thing here with him. Execute his option. He's also going to be back for his last year. So Evan White, Logan Gilbert, maybe we can bring one or both of them back on like cheaper deals now that they're going to be on the wrong side of 30. And assuming they're productive this year, like if they're both still really good, and if we can get them on like a cheaper deal, like maybe I'd probably want to bring back White more than Gilbert, to be honest, just because he's such a really good bat, as well as being just an incredible defensive first baseman, that he's like, it makes more sense to probably bring him back, I guess. But I don't know. We do have some first baseman in the system coming up. So we've got the two guys that we most recently drafted. There's Kurt Watts here, who could be a decent power bat. The thing is, he's never going to be a good defensive first baseman. Also, he was very bad in high A ball this season, so that's not an encouraging sign to see for him. He was our 8th round pick in 2026. And then there was also Ronnie Chisholm, who also could be a pretty decent bat. Once again, not going to be a great fielder. And he was also not very good in A-ball this season. He had a negative WAR, didn't really hit any home runs, just not really good to see. In Double-A this year, our first baseman was Omar Valdez. Oh, did not mean to back up. Omar Valdez, who is a fly ball pole hitter. Scout isn't that high on him as a player, but I mean, he is a guy who has put up, I guess, not the best numbers here. I think I kind of made sure I kept an eye on him after he had this season in A-ball 2026, because it seems like he walks a decent amount, doesn't strike out too much, but he wasn't very good in Double-A either. So maybe we don't have first basemen in the system, but we do have Satoshi Date here, who probably is more of a first baseman than he is a left fielder, to be honest. So he is a guy who could play first base if we don't bring back White. He would be like 20, he'd be like 25, like late 25, early 26 once that came into fruition, though. Also was not great in AAA, was pretty good in Double-A. That's why I called him up so why he was not great in AAA, though. He His peripherals weren't the worst. He walked a decent amount, didn't strike out a lot. He just didn't really, his BABIP was really low, didn't really get too many hits, but I'm hoping he is somebody, but then again, another guy who probably is not, he's definitely not going to be the quality of player that Evan White is. So, do we go outside of the system looking for somebody to replace White once he leaves? Or do we just kind of let our system develop somebody? That will make that decision when the time comes. Maybe we even trade for somebody at some point in this offseason or something. We'll see what happens. We also have to make a decision on Tyler Stevenson here, who has a buyout of $750K. He would be making $7.25 million this year, which is not... I think he really cooled off, is the thing. He had a really good September, but he had a really bad August, really bad July. I guess an okay June. No, not really a good June either. But he was good. He was really streaky. He had a 2 WAR. The thing is, I'd almost rather have Dylan Dingler. Because we have Dingler, who also put up a 2 WAR and was much better. And I feel like if we could just have Dingler as our catcher, who we have at least for a couple seasons, I believe, don't we? Yeah, we have Dingler for this upcoming season, and then for the last season that we have everybody 2029. And then we've got somebody like Daniel Susac here, who had a good year in AAA this year, and I feel like he's very much a guy we could just throw on, and he could be a 1-2 tandem with why can I think, Dylan Dingler. And then we've even got Luke Hancock still, because whoever claimed him, didn't he get claimed off waivers or something, and that's where we lost him, or he got taken in the Rule 5 draft or something? Yeah, he got taken in the Rule 5 draft. They didn't like him, so they released him, and then we got him back, and he was good for us in AAA again. Do I know why Luke Hancock is just this guy who hits wherever he goes? No, I have no clue. Wasn't too great this year. Did not walk at all. Struck out a bit too much. But, yeah, I mean, he even hit in Minnesota. Like, they were like, yeah, we don't like this guy. He did this. This was his slash line in Minnesota, and they were like, nah, we don't want you. Probably because he's more of a hitter than he is a catcher. But, I mean, he's not the worst. But, yeah, I think that's what we're going to do here, is we're gonna buy out Stevenson. We're not going to bring him back. Yeah, we're not going to bring Stevenson back, I don't think. Just because, like, it's not like he provided us with such a good experience that we had a great season. I feel like we could get similar production with Dingler and Susac as Dingler and Stevenson, so we're just not going to bring him back, use that money to spend elsewhere, and then Hancock will be our, I guess, third catcher this year, and we'll probably sign somebody to be a AAA catcher along with him. Yeah, so Tyler Stevenson here, we are voiding the last year of his contract. He will not be back. John Stanton Jr. has said that we will have a available $162 million to spend with this year. Also, Colton Wong retired. Not that he was really a big impact Seattle Mariners player, but he counts as a Seattle Mariners player, so he retired. Also, Steven Hajar retired. He was one of our picks in... he had a decent season in AA this year, it looks like. Didn't pitch too much. He's been hurt a lot since we drafted him. I think he was like a high draft pick for us, too, and just didn't really pan out. He did not sign there, and then we took him in the second... Yeah, he was our second-round pick in 2021, and he just never really panned out. He was hurt a lot. See, like, shoulder inflammation here. Then he retired. Just a lot of day-to-day stuff, back spasms, strained oblique, torn flexor tendon. Right after we drafted him, he had a torn... Like, he tore his flexor tendon twice. He had a stretched elbow ligament. I mean, the guy was constantly hurt, so it's no shocker that he didn't really pan out, but just really shit injury luck for Steven Hajar. Also, our hitting coach, Kevin Seitzer, retired. That's fine, because I was not planning on bringing him back anyways, so we're just going to replace him anyways. And if we look at the end-of-season top prospect lists, for the hitters, we have Dave Cooper, Keyshawn Akers, who's 13th, and Ron Kennedy. Kennedy did not have a great 2027 in AA, so that's not good to see. Dave Cooper here was our 5th-round pick in 2026, and has not been great offensively in his 2 seasons in our system, but I mean, he is this guy that our scout thinks is going to be incredible with gap power, contact, avoid K, even a decent eye, really good base runner, and can play all over the place, so he is definitely still a guy to keep an eye on from Marblehead, Mass, dude. And then, of course, Keyshawn Akers was the guy that we got from the OSA thinks he's an 80. Our scout thinks he's a 60. He was in the Cincinnati trade along with, who did we get him with? Yeah, Pat Anderson, Cesar Martinez, who was not good for us, and Max Carlson in the Ty France and Jacob Key trade. But yeah, Keyshawn Akers, once again, he is a guy definitely to keep an eye on. He's even a guy who could play first base if he doesn't end up sticking in left field because, once again, not a great defensive outfielder. But he did have a pretty good Double-A season, and he'll probably start the year either in Triple-A or maybe we even put him in the majors. Who knows? And then when it comes to pitching, a lot of our pitching prospects have either kind of fizzled out because they weren't that great, or they graduated off this list because they're not on our major league team. But we do have this Frank Monroy guy in high A ball who had a pretty good season in high A ball after having a not great season last year in A ball. And he's only 21. He'll be 22 basically when the season. Extreme ground ball guy, throws 100 miles an hour. He already has 3 really good pitches. I mean, he should just stop throwing the changeup. Once with this control develops a bit more, he could be like a really good starter. OSA is much higher on him than our scout is, but even with that being said, he'll be in Double-A this season, and hopefully maybe he can even get up to the big leagues at some point in 2028. So if we just take a glance at the arbitration list here, we got Brian Perez, who's going to be making just under $2 million this season if he ends up getting that. He is a guy who, once again, has had some really shit luck with injuries for us, but he's usually really good when he actually does play. It's just the thing is, he barely plays. Or not barely, because he has put in some decent innings the past few seasons, but I mean, he missed the whole year. He's had a lot of really nagging injuries. Aquino had a much better season for us this year, so we're obviously going to bring him back on just a cheap arbitration, bringing him back. Dean is a guy who had a really good year last year and then was not great this year. Is he probably worth bringing back? Probably. I don't really see the need not to bring him back. And then also Garabitos is a guy who definitely is going to be brought back, and I'm even interested in trying to possibly buy out the rest of his arbitration at like a cheap number, because he is a guy who could end up being like a pretty solid starter for us. And if he does end up being that, I'm even fine extending him to buy his arbitration as a really good reliever, because even if he doesn't start, he's still a very good reliever. Dylan Dingler is somebody who we saw has 2 years left, and he is slotted to make like $7 million this season. So if we can buy out this year and then the next year, like, because he's slotted to get up to like $10 million in 2029, I'd like to avoid that if I can. And then Clase is somebody who probably isn't going to be a part of our plans anymore. I'm thinking that this offseason, one thing that we would need to do is we need to get somebody who can play center field for us, because Kelnick is probably going to shift to right field. And because of that, I'm going to try to probably trade Clase and Mr. Victor Luna here and get something for them. Luna obviously is somebody who can hit in AAA. He is a guy who is really raked in AAA. His power has never really developed. Our scout still thinks he could be a really quality player. Or not as quality. OSA is still pretty high in him, so we could probably get some trade value for him from other teams. The thing is, he has low adaptability, low work ethic, low intelligence. So he's just not that great of a personality type player. He has no hustle and is unthinking. And he just hasn't really done anything in the bigs for us in his time. And he just doesn't really have a spot, especially once we move Kelnick to right field. So I feel like if we could trade him, Clase, either in a package or 2 separate deals and improve other positions, that would be ideal, because I just don't think Clase is a long-term center fielder for us, even though he is still pretty young. He's had plenty of major league at-bats, and he's never been a good hitter in the major leagues. He was okay defensive and center fielder, but if you want to have a guy who's just purely a defensive player for you, you definitely want better numbers defensively than this. And then of the pending free agents here that we can offer arbitration to, there's someone like Eniel De Los Santos, who did not have a great year for us this past year, but could I possibly try to bring him back? Maybe. We'll just take a skim through these guys and offer the guys we want to bring back. And I'm thinking that we can give up on G. Allen at this point, just because he's a guy who hasn't done really anything in the minors except for this one season that he had in AA, where I was like, oh, maybe you can finally go to AAA now. And then he had 3 seasons in AAA where he's just really bad. So G. Allen, not bringing him back. Brian Abreu was pretty decent in AAA this year for us, but I mean, I'm not trying to bring him back and clog up spots, so he's just going to walk as well. Claudio Fanol has had a bunch of time in AAA now, and he's a guy who has proven that he's, not a guy who's going to be anything for us, so we're also not going to bring him back. Alright, so all these guys with hashtags next to their names are the ones that we have offered minor league extensions to. Maybe some of them don't sign those minor league extensions, and we have to sign to a major league deal. Maybe we let some of those guys walk if they don't sign the minor league deals, but those are the ones we're offering. The rest of these guys are people we're just going to be letting walk and opening up spots in AAA or just, not bringing them back into our system. All right, so here's the extension we're going to be offering Dingler. This is just buying out the last 2 years of his arbitration, and then we just have this buyout in here for the last year of arbitration, just in case he just, really shits the bed, and we just decide not to bring him back for whatever reason. That safety net is in there to where we just buy out this money and then just not sign him. That would essentially be paying $2 million to make sure that we don't have to pay him $8 million for that year. So we're just going to do that, and I doubt we do that, but I think this is a deal because he'd be slotted to make 10, and his original few offers that he was counting with were no, I want a 7-year deal for $12 million. I was like, no, thanks. Now, we also have somebody like Ben Tompkins who's still slotted to be making just the league minimum this year because he's not even an arbitration guy yet. He's 26. He had a very good year as a starter and reliever for us, a 2.8 WAR. Do we reward him and try to get him long-term here on a cheap deal? This is extremely cheap. If he continues to be a really good starter and we can get him through arbitration on $4 million, that's really good. So he's all the way down here. He's got 1 more year of just automatic renewal minimum, so that would be next year, and then 1, 2, 3 years of arbitration after that, and then he would be a free agent. So a 4-year extension buys out the rest of his team control, and then everything past year 5, anything past that would be extra money with Ben Tompkins. I'm thinking we offer him the 5 years. This 5th year is his year that's not arbitration. This would be the year he goes into free agency if we buy him out for $400K. But if we could buy out Ben Tompkins for the rest of his team control for this, I'm doing that. We're offering that to Ben Tompkins. And also some great news here. Ding Bong Che is actually in the last year of the year that we have signed him, and he is on a minor league contract this upcoming season. So we can just release him, which is what we're going to do. Ding Bong Che, see ya. It was a shitty signing by me. You were pretty decent in AAA, but you were really bad in the bigs, so bye-bye. And if you're wondering about Kelnick and White and what they would want to re-sign, I've already tried. If I offer extension to Kelnick, he is not going to want to listen to offers until the last year of his deal. And then the same goes for Evan White, does not want to listen to extension offers until he is in the last year of his contract. So I'll probably check back in on those guys once we get into the preseason. And then also Justin Dunn is another guy who is going to be on an expiring deal this year, and I'll probably check in on him once we get the preseason as well, just to see what they would want as an extension. And really the only other guy we have down here who's someone who I might want to lock up long-term very early on in their team control is somebody like Rusty Bynum. Just because both OSA and my scout are quite high on him, he's still very young. Well, he's going to be 26 in the season. He's the local guy that we traded for from Kansas City, from NC State. Obviously not the greatest WAR this season, but he still had a pretty decent season. So the thing is, if I try to offer him an extension, the most he's going to want to is $16 million. I could probably dock that down a few dollars. I'm also probably not giving him an 8-year deal as an extension. But if I could buy it as arbitration for cheap, because if he just goes off this season and has some incredible year, he's going to be getting a lot of money in arbitration. So if we can just kind of lock him up early through these years, maybe give him a 5-year deal, I could do that. And you can see here he has 5 more years of team control left. The 5th year is the last year of arbitration. So if we could just right now he's slotted to only make this, but that's just based on his production this year. But if he goes into this year and just absolutely just does what my scout thinks he's capable of and is just incredible, then he's going to want a lot more. So I'm thinking we're going to just buy out his arbitration now and hope that he plays up to his contract like someone like Kelnick did, like someone like Justin Dunn did, and Logan Gilbert, all these guys that we have signed through their arbitration early on, so we can, afford them as a small market team. All right, so we're not going to do this with Bynum because every time I offer him something, he's like, no, I want every year to be $9 million, and we just can't afford that. I keep trying to offer him 5 years of buyout as team control. A 6th year would be the first year of his free agency. So I keep trying to give him a team option. Have these years up in the 9 to 10, even 12 million range, and then these years in the anywhere from 1 and then 3 and then 5. I keep trying to give him a deal like that, and he just won't have any of it. Every time I try to offer him, he just goes, "No, I want every year being 9 to 10, 11 million," and I'm just no. So we're going to come back to Bynum at some point. And we are also decided I'm not going to offer Tyler Stevenson just because I really, really don't want to take the chance that he accepts the qualifying. The thing is, he definitely... would he even take... let's see this. If I offer him 1.5, would he even take that? Okay, well, I can't even see because my owner would not approve. So, I mean, that's another thing. If we accept that, we're going to have zero money to spend. So, I don't really want to do that. We're just not. We're not going to do it. I'm going to, maybe I miss out on getting an extra draft pick. Maybe I don't, but I don't want to take that chance. So, Tyler Stevenson, we are not going to be bringing, we're not going to be giving him a QO. And I also said that I wanted to fire my trainer, so we're going to do that here, too, since we had so many injuries the past few seasons. So Kyle Torgerson, goodbye, and now we have to pick ourselves up a new hitting coach and a new trainer. You can also see here that our pitching coach in AAA has been so good with the Tacoma Rainers that he's a guy who, if Peter Woodworth here, the thing is, because our pitching is just so incredibly good, and he is just, this guy we could just promote him up to the big leagues. It's the same age, but the thing is that Peter Woodworth has also been very good as a pitching coach in the major leagues. If only we had a hitting coach down in the minors that was very good that we could just promote. But we don't, because nobody hits in our system. Nobody does. We have terrible hitting coaches up and down. And right off the bat here, I'm seeing Mike DeJesus, who has been the Dodgers hitting coach, which once again, those numbers are, his reputation as a hitting coach is very much inflated by the fact that the Dodgers have the Dodgers roster. You can see here, the Dodgers have gotten worse and worse as a team as the years have gone on. Also didn't even coach this year. He got fired, I guess, or they just didn't bring him back. But when he was there, they got worse and worse and worse as time went on, and obviously he's going to have an outstanding reputation because they were so good. But the thing is, did a hitting coach really do anything when they've got Cody Bellinger? Did this guy produce Cody Bellinger? No. But I think we're going to go with Delwyn Young here. I'm thinking we're going to go with him. We are going to offer Delwyn Young a contract to be our hitting coach. Even though he's a balanced training focus, I just feel like he's the most well-rounded guy here because preventing arm injuries is probably the biggest one that we're going to be trying to avoid here. We could go with somebody see, these guys down here have a lot of legendary stuff, but then he also is inexperienced with healing arms and other injuries. But he's also legendary at preventing legs, great at preventing arms, and then legendary at preventing back and other injuries. He's somebody who he's never had training, so that's why he's inexperienced at these. So I guess, if he's legendary at preventing, it doesn't really matter too much if he's not great at healing these injuries, because, if a guy tears his UCL, he's going to be out for a while anyways. So I'm thinking we're going to go with this guy. Yeah, we're going to go with Josh Pine here. Alrighty, so Dylan Dingler here has signed his extension. We have him for the upcoming season at, here it is. The upcoming season at $8 million, and then just a little bit of an increase for 2029. He was projected to be making $10 million for this 2029 season. That saves us a couple million to pay Dylan Dingler for the rest of his team control. And then also Ben Tompkins has accepted his extension that's just extremely cheap throughout the rest of his team control. And then this last year is a free agency year that we could decide to bring him back or let him walk into free agency. So something interesting just popped up here. Joe Burrows, who was our left fielder this year, the leadoff hitter for quite a while, He is, where is he? He has 5 years of team control. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The highest would be 5.3 that he's slotted to be at right now. So the thing about Joe Burrow is I wasn't sure if I wanted to sign him to a thing because he had a really good year in his first full year in the big leagues, and I was like, maybe I don't really want to bring him back. My scat's not the highest on him, even though he was a very good player for us. Could be a long-term left fielder. I wasn't the highest soul on his defense, but as you probably saw up there in the corner, we got the message here for the Gold Glove winners. Evan White wins at first base again, and Joe Burrows won the Gold Glove in left field. So I'm like, what the hell? So I look at his stats here, and he actually was a plus 6.1 ZR in left field. Not the greatest range factor, but, definitely a solid left fielder here. He is 25, so we would be signing him through, like, his age 30 season here and an extension. But like I said, he is only projected to get 5.3 mil. It's supposed to go this year auto renew and then 2.5, 2.7, 4, and 5.3. But as you can see, we could do this where we get him for cheaper than he wants, than he's projected to make with the production right now for every season. So, I mean, we get it for cheaper than arbitration. I think that's a no-brainer, because if he gets even better, he's going to want even more. So, Joe Burrows, bam, we're giving him that, buying out the rest of his arbitration. And there it is. Joe Burrows has signed his extension. We have him through 2032 now, and hopefully he's able to be a guy who produces at even just this level for the rest of his career. I would take that very much. Alrighty, so if we take a look at the awards around the league, we already saw the American League Gold Glove. Evan White got first base. Joe Burrows got left field. Not really any other names that we were too noticed. Well, Mitch Haniger. Mitch Haniger won another Gold Glove in right field. That's 2 now that he's won with the Blue Jays here, having a pretty solid end of his career here with the Toronto Blue Jays. Really, he's been pretty solid. Ever since he was in New York, he's been a above 1 WAR player, getting a solid end to his career here. Definitely got on base way more this season than he has at any point at this point in his career. In the National League, the Gold Gloves, there you have it. Lara is the pitcher, Sean Murphy, C.J. Abrams, Nasim Nunez, Matt Chapman still winning it. He's probably up there in years now. Yeah, 34 years old now at the Dodgers. Still a very good defensive player. Eduardo Garcia is at shortstop. Dan Burke in left. Hedbert Perez in center. And Scott Hurst in right field, who was the guy we thought that we might trade for to play center field for us at the deadline, but opted not to. But he wins the Gold Glove again. That's now 3 for him. And then the AL reliever of the year was Ivan Perez from the Minnesota Twins. Doesn't look like any of our guys were on this list this year. In the National League, it was Josh Cullinane from the D-backs. The AL Silver Sluggers, Adley Rutschman, Vladdy, Nick Solak, Yoan Moncada, Wander Franco, Soto, Jim Youngling, McAnthony Valdez, who we saw had an incredible year, and then Noah Myers of the Royals at DH. While in the National League, it was Michael Morales at the pitcher position, Sean Murphy, Pete Alonso, Ozzy Albies, Osmi Gregorio, Fernando Tatis, Dan Burke, okay, yeah, this is the end. I was like, what am I looking at here? Cody Bellinger, and then Ronald Acuna. While the American League Rookie of the Year was Orlando Ortiz. The Minnesota Twins having a left-handed bat power-hitting first baseman named Ortiz. How did that work out last time? It seems like it's working out much better this time, though. And then Joe Burrows was actually 3rd here in that voting. He got 22 points, finished 3rd place. Not anywhere near the top, obviously, but still a very solid season for Joe Burrows. In the National League, it was Willie Vasquez of the Chicago Cubs who won the Rookie of the Year. Texas Pilot. What am I looking at here? Manager of the Texas Pilot. So they're calling him a pilot because he's a manager? I thought they named themselves like the Texas Pilots for a second. I was like, what? Wait, when did that happen? But, yeah, Andy McTeague is the manager of the year because he had just this incredible year managing the Rangers. Just all of a sudden, he was really bad this whole time. They never had a good team. All of a sudden, went 81-81 here, and then now they're just like, yeah, win 97 games. Why not? And then the National League, it was Garrett Lindsay of the The D-backs, who won the World Series. This was his first year managing at any level, first year managing the D-backs after being the bench coach for the Dodgers. Probably a smart move considering he was the bench coach for the Dodgers. They hired him, and then they won the World Series. The American League Cy Young was actually Ethan Reed of the Texas Rangers. Justin Dunn finished in third with 82 points, and it doesn't look like we noticed anybody else here from who we've had or noticed, but yeah, Dunn was second. Ethan Reed gets first. This guy, I mean, he's not even that good, but he just had like a really good year. Led the league in ERA, most innings pitched. I mean, it wasn't even that good. He only had 3. I guess this, I guess that was the best year. Probably a down year for pitching. We're probably in a portion this now where there's more hitting or something. I mean, Dunn of the higher WAR. Dunn got robbed. Dunn snubbed for Cy Young. And then that Cole Densing guy wins it for the Giants in the National League for the Cy Young. While the American League MVP was McAnthony Valdez, the guy from the Tigers, who just absolutely was ridiculous. He was their second overall pick in 2022. Took him a bit to get to the big leagues, but once he did, now at 27 years old, hits 56 home runs and wins the American League MVP. As their Kelnick only got 5 total points this season with the MVP, but it definitely was a down Kelnick season. I don't know about a down, but I mean, still a very solid year, just not an MVP quality year. So, I mean, that's what we expect from Jared Kelnick, to be a very, very good player, and he is a very, very good player. In the National League, there was Cody Bellinger, yet again, very shocking that he wins MVP. What's that for him now? It's, yeah, he's got 6 MVPs. He won in 2019, 2020, 2021, 2025, 2026, and 2027. So that's, what is that? Fucking 3 three-peats? Yeah, he had 3 three-peats. No, not 3 three-peats. He had 2 three-peats. He won 3 in a row, 2019, 2020, 2021, then took off a couple of years, it looks like. It looked like he was hurt in maybe not. I'm not really sure why he didn't. Because why did he not win MVP in 2022? He had a 10 WAR. Yeah, he just didn't. Okay, that's odd. So he did not win MVP in 2022, 23, 24, despite him having a 10 WAR in 2022. They were like, nah, you're not the MVP. What are you talking about? But then he did win it in 25, 26, and 27. He had an 11 WAR this season. I mean, this guy, look at these career stats. He's got 523 home runs. He's got a career 84.1 WAR. He's hitting 300 exactly for his career, 407, 629. He's got 1,802 hits. I mean, absurd. He's 32 years old. He's gonna hit a lot of home runs. They've still got him signed through 2031 here. I think the most absurd thing about Cody Bellinger is the fact that he was drafted and brought up as a first base prospect who could play some corner outfield, and then all of a sudden they were like, "Hey, go play some center field," and he's just like, "All right, I'm gonna become the best center fielder in the major leagues," and it's just like, wait a minute, what? You're primarily first baseman, and all of a sudden you're just like this insane center fielder. Alrighty, so the arbitration has gone through. Garabito's got 1.4, Perez got just under 2 million, Clase got 850K, Aquino got 900K, and then Dean got just over 1 million. Clase, like I said, is a guy who we are going to be trying to trade here in the offseason, as well as Victor Luna. And now the free agents have filed, and it is time to dive into the fun part of the offseason, where we actually acquire players. Alrighty, so once again here, arms are not something we're trying to go after here. I highly doubt we spend any money signing any arms. We have arms, we do not need to improve the rotation. This is an extremely solid rotation. Even if Perez ends up not being healthy, we have plenty of guys who can be plugged in as like the 5th starter here. Ben Tompkins is the 5th starter right now, is an absurd 5th starter to have. So our rotation, once again, we don't need to improve anything there. The bullpen is completely fine. We don't need to acquire anybody there. It's once again hitting. So I have everybody up in the major leagues right now who are guys that are like our best bats who we currently have. So like catcher is not a thing we're trying to upgrade here. That's something we're worried about. We're not worried about. First base, maybe trying to acquire Evan White's replacement at some point in this offseason or at some point in next season, but not exactly one of our highest priorities. Second base. Definitely need to improve. Moss is a guy I might even try to trade at some point this offseason as well. But Keithron Moss is a guy who I'm not really trying to keep around. Despite him having an okay season as a backup for us, I'm not trying to keep him around. So Moss, second base position, definitely a big emphasis of upgrade. Cermak here, do we want to give him another shot at third base? Maybe, but third base is also a position that we probably want to upgrade. Marte at shortstop, I probably leave him there, see if he can have a bounce-back season. But, I mean, maybe he shifts to second base and we pick up a shortstop. The thing is, it's pretty hard to find a shortstop, especially in free agency, because they're really expensive. Left field, don't need to upgrade there. We have Burrows. Kelnick, he's going to be shifting to right field for us this season, so we need to find ourselves a center fielder and probably a fourth outfielder. So a center fielder, a fourth outfielder, and like a couple infielders is what we're trying to pick up here in free agency and also through trades. So yeah, we're here looking at the bats in free agency. As you can see, we have $13 million to spend and $34 million for extensions. This is after I docked down the, where is it? I docked down the international amateur free agent to 0 just so we could extend some guys, but I'm obviously going to put that back up here. But just for now, we'll keep that where it is. And if we take a look in free agency, we don't have too much money to spend, but we could sign somebody for cheap if we wanted to. And just right off the bat, a lot of guys who kind of are out of our price range, and also guys who are old. There's like Profar here, who's fragile and old. Not really somebody I'm trying to pick up. Also hasn't been good as of recently. Not really trying to pick him up. Cody Hosey is a guy who I'm very aware of in real life, and was really, really good at Tulane. Tulane, however you say that. Tulane. I've heard it pronounced both ways. I usually say one or the other. But I knew he was very good at college. And it seems like he hasn't even really played in the major leagues here. Like, how many... Yeah, he's gotten 51 total starts, 300 plate appearances in the major leagues. I mean, the guy just hasn't gotten a chance. But historically in AAA, he's been in AAA since 2023, and he has not ever gotten a chance, and he's put up 3 WARs. I mean, I feel like he's a guy we got to give a shot here. I mean, if we're trying to improve bats here, we don't even have any, like, depth bats. So even if he ends up being a depth bat, I'm thinking we got to throw, like, $2 million at Cody Hosey. Maybe I can... What does he think about just straight up $2 million? Bam! We'll give you that. $2 million to Cody Hosey. We'll give him that. Maybe he's a late bloomer. Yeah, so there really isn't anybody, I should say, in free agency here who could play center field for us that we're interested in. We could try to get Verdugo, but I mean, he's definitely more of a corner outfielder than he is a center fielder. Just because I was curious, I shopped Victor Luna here just for any type of center fielder, and really the only guy that really stands out is Scott Hurst here, the guy we were trying to pick up last year at the trade deadline. Obviously has been a Gold Glove right fielder, but I feel like he could definitely play center field if we needed him to, and he'd be probably a decent center fielder at that. And he's a guy who gets on base a lot. Obviously doesn't hit for too much power, but he gets on base, doesn't strike out, plays a solid defense. That's what you want from a center fielder. The thing is, at $10 million, we'd have him just for 1 season. So, do we want to trade Luna for a rental? Probably not. Alright, so it seems like Clase has much more trade value than Luna does. Here's the most interesting one I've seen so far for Clase, is we trade Clase, who's a guy who's just like a 4th outfielder, and even that not a great one, for 1 year of Josh Lowe, who's going to be 30 once the season starts, and as you can see here, has had back-to-back really good seasons, kind of having like a late 20s period of his career where he's just really good. I mean, he's coming off a 42 home run, 26 double, 137 WRC plus, pretty solid peripherals here with walks and strikeout percentage, even swiped 17 bags. He's even a plus ZR center fielder. So Josh Lowe, is this Lau or Lowe? He's one of those guys where it's Lowe or Lau, and I don't know, whatever his name is. But he is definitely intriguing, because if I was going to trade for a rental, I definitely want this guy more than I would want Scott Hurst. Because we could look at this as trying to be like getting a really good team in this season and next season while we have like our core together. Because this is the year where we have the core. We have White, Gilbert, Kelnick, and then if we can't bring back White, Dunn, and Gilbert next season, then it's just going to be like Kelnick and Soroka. So if we could add on Josh Lowe to our team this year and then either just let him walk at the rest of the guys and then just kind of go into a young period, like rebuilding era of our team, that could be something. I'm thinking we're going to go with this. I went and looked at the Leo Bravo trade with the Mets and see if I could... I went with this one and the other one to see if I could get either of these guys for somebody other than Clase, to see maybe if I could get both of them. But Clase is like required in both of them because... if I remove Clase from this and then go like make it work, these are basically the same guys that are the only make it work guys for Bravo. So I'm not trying to give them Rusty Bino. I'm not trying to give them these prospects who I think might be something. And then also Tompkins, I'm not giving them that, obviously. So we are just going to give them Clase. I even tried doing it with Luna and then seeing like adding something else with Luna. Like here, I'll just show you. Like if I throw on Luna here and go make it work, it's just like these guys, which is... you know, not really something I'm trying to do either. So, do I know why these teams are so high on Clase? Not particularly. Like, obviously, the guy steals a lot of bags. He could be something defensively, like an okay defensive center fielder, right fielder even. But he's never going to hit. The guy's never going to hit in the major leagues. So, I mean, maybe he proves me wrong, but maybe he doesn't. So, you know, Clase, he's going to get traded, and we're going to pick up one season of Josh Lowe here to help us out in center field. All right, so here's something that's pretty interesting. If I trade Luna and Dean here, who is coming off a not great season, definitely he's a reliever. I mean, we've been over plenty of times what I think of relievers. We can pick up relievers anywhere. We can even just call up guys from AAA to be relievers for us. So we could give up Dean and Victor Luna, who we are trying to trade here, and we pick up Damon Dews here. Dews, Dez, whoever you say this guy's name, who is a extremely high on-base percentage guy. You can see here, the entire time in his career, he gets on base a ton. He has a little bit of pop, can hit some extra base hits here too. But I mean, if a guy puts up around a 400 OBP, he just had a 3.5 WAR as a first baseman this season. I think I could squeeze some second base out of this. I'm not the most ideal guy to put at second base, but I think if we can squeeze a season at a first base or a second base in this guy, and then maybe, you know, hear me out here, maybe we squeeze a season at a first base from the second base in this guy, and then once White leaves, if we can't bring him back, he becomes the first baseman with Bynum at DH still, and we solve that issue for the next couple seasons. Because we still have a few years of team control of this guy if we trade for him. I feel like he's a much better bat to help out than Luna is, just based on what he's done in Kansas City, which is a pretty similar pitcher's ballpark. I'm thinking this is what we're going to do here. We're going to pick up this guy, and we're just going to try to squeeze some second base out of Damon Dews here. So I just shopped Keithron Moss here, and just right away I'm seeing this Jose Pedraza guy, who is another first baseman, who just, I mean, he looks like he got called up to Double-A halfway through last year. It looks like he probably got rushed there, but probably not. But I mean, look at what this guy has done every level. Every level he's been at, except for Double-A, where he spent a little bit of a half a season there. But I mean, this guy is, I mean, he could be something. So I'm not going to trade for him now. So I threw him on my default shortlist here, and we're just going to keep an eye on him, and then maybe once, you know, next season happens, we can try to come back and trade for this guy. The Braves have this guy, Darling Florentino. Incredible name. 80 grade name. 45 grade, once again, another fringe guy here. The thing is, he did just put up a 4 WAR season in AAA. Like, really good numbers. The thing is, would he be any better than Cermak at third? Maybe, at the very least, because we're trying to trade Moss for this, essentially. So, I mean, if we swap Moss for this guy, just put up a 4 WAR in AAA, and has been really good, or not really good, he just all of a sudden started getting on base. I don't know what happened there, but he's all of a sudden the guy who gets on base. Here's an extremely interesting guy, a 24-year-old on the Rockies who apparently just got claimed from the D-backs, because I've been slacking on looking on the waivers here, otherwise I would have seen this guy. But, He just had a 2-WAR in AA last year, got called up to AAA for 1 game, and then went up to the big leagues. And this guy has hit at every level he has gone to. He's an incredible contact, gap power, and avoid K bat, which I love these guys. They produce just for whatever reason, even if a guy has no home run power and no eye discipline. If they have contact and avoid K, they generally produce. And then this guy is also just an incredible defensive player at like every position. He's a high intelligence player. That's good to see. You can see here he's a plus defender at like every position. Not plus, like a plus ZR player. And then, yeah, even look at this. I mean, he's literally a plus player at like every position. He could play anywhere. This guy, even if he's not a starter for us, he's somebody he'd be like a guy who plays every day, but a different position every day. I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to trade Keithron Moss for Chris Parks here. I think we're actually going to do this. We're going to get Keithron Moss and Chris Walker, who is a 40 potential prospect. He could be something, could be an okay pitcher someday. He was our 4th round pick in 2024. But, hasn't really been too great, but he is a guy who could possibly be something. But we're going to send him and Keithron Moss to the Rockies for that Chris Parks guy, who we've already talked about now, and Kobe Mayo, who is a guy who just put up a 4-WAR season in AAA and could play some third base and first base too, but mainly third base. He's a captain, and I feel like having him as like a third baseman bench bat, as well as this Chris Parks guy, could very well help out our team. So we're going to do that. That helps out the depth and also helps out immediately. And yeah, we're just going to do that. Chris Parks and Kobe Mayo, welcome to the Seattle Mariners. And I'm thinking we don't have to go out and get any other infielders aside from Cody Hosey, who we're going to sign to be like a guy in the bigs and also, or either the bigs or in AAA for us this season. He probably still has options, I believe. But, yeah, so I don't think we need to sign anybody else. We don't have that much money to spend anymore anyway since we picked up Josh Lowe. But, I mean, I feel like this lineup could be something. Dingler, White, Dews, Parks, Marte, Burrows, Lowe, Lau, however you say his name, Kelnick, and Bynum. Bynum continues to improve, plays like he did the rest of the last year rather than having the bad start. Kelnick's still really good. Josh Lowe hopefully has a similar season that he had last year in center field for us. Joe Burrows will hopefully either improve or at least be that again. Marte, even if he's just what he was last year, that's fine, I guess, but we would like to see him have a full season of like what he was these 3 seasons that we had him. And then there's Parks, who I think could be really, really good for us. And then there's also Dews, and even if he doesn't perform, he's not, like, he could be a bench bat, and like Parks could be at second, and like Cermak could be at third, or Juan Jerez could play, or Kobe Mayo could play, or even somebody like Cody Hosey could play. And then at first base, it's White, obviously. Yeah, this is just a very, very good... I feel like it could be a very, very good hitting team. Could it fluster out? Yeah, probably it could. Or not probably, it could. But I mean, like, any team can fluster out. But I mean, I feel like we've improved at the hitting, is what I'm trying to say here. Definitely, I feel like we've upgraded here at the infield spots rather than just running back Keithron Moss. But I feel like this could be a decent hitting team. But, maybe we're just cursed to always have bad hitting as a Mariners team. But, like, once again, the pitching is always going to be good. We always have good pitching. And then the hitting should hopefully be improved. And let's see what we can do here in 2027, as I don't think we're really going to make many more moves, if at all, aside from signing Hosey. Alrighty, so Mr. Justin Dunn here is apparently been working with the community here, so we can either give him a donation, say we can't help like a bunch of cheap bastards, or start a charity here. So I think we're just gonna, I guess, give him a we'll just give him a donation, just because, I don't know. Might as well. And now it's time for the Rule 5 draft, and I don't believe there's really anybody who I need to be adding to the 40-man roster here. Like, maybe Blake Money gets taken, but also he's recovering 5 to 6 months from a torn labrum, so I doubt he gets taken, even if he does. But yeah, there's not really anybody I'm trying to, I'm really desperate to protect here, and it looks like if we sort by players, yeah, we don't really have any of these top guys here. There's Pedraza, who's the guy that we looked at from the Diamondbacks. He's not even in our system. He's just a guy on our regular short list to keep an eye on. And then if we look at the overall guys, also nobody here is somebody we are really looking to pick up. So we're just going to auto-draft here and see what happens, because we're also not going to draft anybody in the Rule 5. And there you go. None of our guys got taken. And yeah, Pedraza ended up getting taken by the Reds, so now we'll be keeping an eye on him as he's on the Reds here. But here's the rest of the guys. Nobody who, like I said, nobody from our system, and that's the good thing. Some fantastic news here. Our market size decreased. We're now a tiny market size. We were small, now we're tiny. Not great. Not great at all. Yeah, so just taking a look at what Jared Kelenic wants right now, and now that we're in preseason, and I said I was going to look at what these guys want on their extensions. Kelenic, who has a team option, I believe. This year we have him, and he has a team option for $14 million, which we are going to accept, obviously, next season. But then he wants like a huge deal, so we're probably going to be losing Kelenic after 2029, which is disappointing. But, I mean, he is going to be heading into the wrong side of 30, so, you know, not the worst thing in the world. Same thing with Soroka. He'd also want a pretty lengthy extension for also a lot of money. Logan Gilbert is not even interested in re-signing because he hates Ozzie Guillen, apparently, so that's not good there. And also, Evan White is going to want like $25 million on his extension, so I don't think we're going to be able to bring him back either, so good thing we have planned for what we could do here to replace White at first base after this season. And as far as Justin Dunn, it looks like he also wants like a $21 million. But he's going to be like 33 when he hits free agency, so he's probably not a guy I'm really looking to bring back anyways. Alrighty, so we just scouted our entire team from the Major League, AAA and AA levels, got all their scouting reports up to date, and now we are about to head into spring training, but we are going to do that in the next episode as we kick off the 2028 season with the first half of the year. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for this 2028 year. I think we're going to be a good team, and it's going to be a transition year next year, probably with only like Kelenic and Soroka with our core guys there, but I feel like we have enough guys to be still a competitive team here. So hopefully that's able to be a thing next season, but we'll worry about that next season. What we're looking now is 2028, where we're looking like we're going to be a pretty good team. At least I feel like it.